lovely book dragons, and welcome back to another video. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about how I rate books and what's important in books for me. So one of my all-time favorite YouTubers, Daniel Green, made a video where he talks about what matters to him when he reads books and how he rates books and what he thinks is important, what he likes and what he doesn't like in books. And I thought, you know what? That is actually such a good idea. And he even said it himself that he thinks that every YouTuber or booktuber should have a video like this, because then when you say, I didn't like this book or I did like this book, your subscribers can always go back and see, okay, maybe this person didn't like this book, but actually I love this. Example, stupid example, but an example. Imagine I say, I love love triangles. They are my favorite trope. And you hate love triangles. Well, if I'm going to tell you that I read this book and it had a love triangle in it, and I'm going to say I gave it 5 stars, you're going to say, all right, okay, maybe you'll see my whole review with the plot and everything, but there's this love triangle trope and you hate it and you know I love it. So do you really still want to read this book? You see where I'm coming from. So I decided that I am going to tell you how I rate books. And actually this question was already requested, I think by Elise. I think it was you. One time we were talking about a book and I created my own spreadsheet about how I rate books. And she's like, hey, I would like to know what your categories are, what you rate in books. And I thought, hey, let's just make a video of it. And then it's here and you can all know my process in rating books. So this video is going to be split into 2 parts mainly. The first part is going to be basic things that I like in books. I'm going to tell you a little bit about tropes and things that matter to me. And then the second part is going to be about the spreadsheet I created where I give in the book some points and then I get a rating for Goodreads. The very first thing that you should know is that I am predominantly a fantasy reader. I was thinking about this. I'm also going to be doing a video on this, on why I read fantasy. And I love fantasy. That is the first thing you should know, that if you are stumbling on this channel, like, oh, hey, I saw this new channel. What is this all about? I read a lot of different things, but mainly I read fantasy and I'm 100% okay with that. I actually want the majority of the books I read in a year to be fantasy because it's just what I love the most. So why not read what I love the most, right? Second thing that you should know that is the most important when it comes to my reading and rating and reviewing books is that I am a character-driven reader. I can read a book where there is 0 plot and it's all about the characters and I will love it. Well, if the characters are well written and it's well executed, I will love it. For example, when I was in college, one of my favorite books was Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe by Benjamin Alire Sainz. And I've read that book, I think 5 or 6 times. Not a fantasy, so here I go against what I said in the first point, but I love this book. And I've seen reviews of people who say, this book is so boring because there is no plot. It's all about Aristotle and Dante. And then again, it's in the title, but there is no plot to this book. And I'm like, no, there isn't. And it's great. I love this book so much. And I read for the characters. That's what I read for. Of course, I read for the beautiful, epic worlds and the awesome, amazing, fun magic systems and the lore and all of that. But mainly I read for the characters. I can have a book where there's no plot. The characters are amazing. It can get a 5 stars. On the opposite, it's very, very difficult for me to have a book that's mainly plot-driven or action-driven, and then the characters are not so good and still get a 5 stars. Another thing that is important to note is that I am not the biggest fan of romance. Now, do I hate romance? No. Am I going to punish a book in my review because it has a romance plotline? No. But I don't enjoy when everyone is paired up at the end of a novel. I used to like that. I was like, yay, everyone gets a happy ending. I don't really like happy endings anymore. So yeah, I don't like it when everyone gets paired up. I don't love romance in a book. Sometimes I need to read a fantasy romance, not like the smutty fantasy romance. I'm thinking more like a fantasy novel where the romance is important, because sometimes I need those like fun, giggly feelings, and then I read one book, and then for the next 6 months I don't read another one like that. The next thing you need to know about my reading taste is that I need there to be high stakes in a novel. Like I said, I read fantasy. Fantasy often has war, often has political scheming and people betraying each other, even if there's not an outright war. There's always stuff like that happening in fantasy novels. I need there to be stakes. I have so had it with books where the whole main cast comes out like swinging after this huge war, and like I can't have that anymore. Of course, I will always be happy that The Lord of the Rings ended the way it ended, because I love those characters. Now, in the fantasies I read now, I want there to be stakes. And that is kind of why I transitioned from YA to adult fantasies. Because when I read YA, there are not often stakes. I know that the characters are all going to be fine. I know that no one is going to die. And when they do, it's like, whoa, wow, she went there or he went there. It's very rare that that happens. And I need it to happen because, like I said, once again, I'm a character-driven reader. If I get attached to this character and then you make me suffer, that is like, wow. Wow, wow, wow. Like, guys, okay, I don't know how George R. R. Martin is going to finish his books, but if anything like in the series happens and McQueen gets killed, I'm still not over it. I'm still not over the fact that Daenerys Stormborn is no longer part of this world. Was she ever? Because she's like, you know what I mean? Like, I need there to be pain. I need to know that there is stakes, because otherwise I'm reading this 500 or 600 page novel, and no matter what happens, you're all gonna be fine. So why should I be reading this anyway? Like, I need stakes. Not the one you eat, the kind you eat. Stakes, you know? So I think that those are the main parts of what you need to know about me as a reader. I love fantasy. I'm a character-driven reader. I need stakes. And I'm not a big fan of romance. Not against it, but it's not the thing I love most. So yeah, relationships are very important, especially friendships. Like I said, because of character-driven reader, friendships are super important. And that's pretty much it. Now let's hop on into the spreadsheet I created so that you see how I actually rate books. In full transparency, I got inspired by G over at Book Roast. She created this rating system called Cawpile, and every letter stands for something. And I actually kept some of these things, like C was for characters, A was for atmosphere, W was for world building, for example. And some stuff I kept, and some stuff didn't work for me, so I took it out, and some stuff I needed to add in, and I added it in, created my own rating system. I actually changed the way that she then classifies it, because she has a way like, if you get between this and this, it's a 2-star. Between this and this, it's a 3-star. And her classes weren't evenly spread out, so I spread mine out evenly. But pretty much I got inspired by that. And I have a few categories here that I use to write my books. And I throw it through my rating system. And then it gives me a wonderful rating after the formula. The first two things go hand in hand with what I just said, the characters and relationships. Most important for me, of course, are the characters great? Are the characters not great? I rated from 1 to 10 characters and their relationships, whether it be familial relationships, friendships, romance, tutor relationships, doesn't matter, all the kind of relationships. Did I feel for the relationships? Did I care? Like Samwise and Frodo, was it something like that? Or was it just like, oh, okay, they were friends, but you don't really see it, you know? Then I have atmosphere. Atmosphere, I realize as time goes on, is something that I really actually do care about. It's not like I'm gonna rate a book lower if the atmosphere is bad. If the characters are bad, I'm gonna dock an extra star or something. If atmosphere is okay, I'm like, yeah, well, it's okay. I'm not too fussed about it, but I do love me some good atmosphere. Next category, because I am a fantasy reader, is world building. I don't need to have every single detail about the world and know how everything works and every tree, and I don't need that. If I have it, I'm not against it. I don't mind it because I love good worlds. Most importantly, I love picking up a book, opening the pages, and I see that it's a world that already exists. Like, it feels like the world, someone said it, I don't know who said it first like this, but that the world is lived in. That you just so happen to stumble upon these characters as they live. I don't want to see a world that is built for our characters and that just advances the plot. No. So world building is important. Next up, just the plot and the pacing of the story. Like I said, I don't need the plot to be amazing. If the plot is amazing, all the better. But I always want to see, like, how was the plot? Was the plot good? Was the plot a bit weaker? I actually have thought about 2021 and changing this spreadsheet and making it that because right now the numbers that I give add together and then I divide it. But I think that next year I'm going to give some categories heavier weights in the overall rating, because I don't care so much about plot, but I care a lot about characters. So it would only make sense that the character rating matters more than the plot rating, since it's not something I care as much about. It's still a work in progress. I did this in 2020 and I might change it in 2021. Like I said, the next category is pacing. I mean, that it's self-explanatory. Was the book well paced? Was it super slow in the beginning, very good at the end? Then again, not super important to me, because Brandon Sanderson fan. Brandon Sanderson is known for the Sanderlanche. What's the Sanderlanche? It's like the last 100 or 200 pages of his books. He just bombards you with everything happening. Everything comes to a head and everything just like concludes there. And it's like, what? And yeah, Stormlight Archive, some people say it takes them 400 pages to get into it, or 500 pages to get into the world. Yeah, it's a 10-book series with each book being 1,200 pages. Yeah, the beginning is going to be a little bit slower. And I don't mind that. And then having the Sanderlanche at the end and just like getting all the information and the awesome character moments. The next category is writing. I just like to see if I enjoyed the writing, if I didn't, because that helps me know if I'm going to pick up another book by this author. Example, Anna Marie McLemore. I know I do not like her writing and I will not be picking up books by her. No. And then finally, good old enjoyment. Was it fun? Did I like it? Did I have a good time with it? Did I want to pick it up? Did I not? That's just self-explanatory. How much did you like the book overall? I throw it all together, mix it in a blender, and get a formula, and then I get the rating for my book. So that, guys, is how I rate books. It is what matters to me in books. Now you know, in case you watch some reviews in the future and think, oh, okay, but I don't know exactly what it means for her. And actually, when I'm going to start doing reviews on this channel, I am going to go through each of these categories to tell you what my rating was, what I thought about it, so that it makes more sense maybe to you. And maybe I will touch upon themes and tropes. But I thought it was important. I wanted to have this video on the channel for people who stumble upon it. And so you can just revert back to this video, find out what I like, and continue on. So there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you're doing well. And I will see you soon with another video. Bye.